The second common image adjustment that you use often in Photoshop is the curves. And I will be honest here, curves still kind of hang me up a little bit. I feel like I understand them, but I can't always get them to work exactly how I like. But I know that there's a lot of people out there who really understand curves really well and can use them. So let me do my best to try to explain them to you. If you go to Image and you go to Adjustments and you click on Curves, you can see the shortcut key here is Control M or Command M for Mac OS. And it works sort of like the levels, only the difference is instead of having slider bars, you actually can have a curve or a graph setup for adjusting your channels. So just like before, we have presets, so we can do things like have color negatives and darker colors, linear contrast, all these great presets that you have here. You can adjust on a per channel setting, so you can do RGB or individual channels. Here we have the actual graph, and this is showing your pixels from 0 to 255 and how much you want to add the output in those. So you have your input. This is the actual image that we're looking at here. We can see that there is a lot of darker and midtones in this image. If we move this around, you could probably see that a little better. And then we have some spiky white areas near the end, but then it kind of falls off and never gets to 100% white. And then we have some other settings. We can show the lightness values or the pigment ink values, which helps out the grid and what's on the grid. So do we want to see the histogram, the channel overlays, baseline, and so forth. And then we have the other options such as auto, extra options, and the preview button. So let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. So if we go to, say, the blue channel, we have this blue road and the blue sky here, and you can see that there's a lot of darker pixels for the blues and then nothing in the mid-range. So maybe this road where it's dark and blue, there's a lot of those. It's not so much in the mid-range, and then a lot of the mid to higher range, which is probably the sky here, and then not a whole lot of high pixels for the blue channel regarding the higher levels or the wider levels here. So imagine that we wanted to increase the lightness of the blues in this image. We can adjust the points on this graph. So here at the top right, we have a straight line for our blues, and if we take that and we move it around, you can see that we begin adjusting the blues. So here I'm taking out blues, and you're starting to see more yellows in this actual image. If I move it along the curves graph this way, you can see that we're introducing a lot more of the high level blues and smashing out the darkers. Same thing if I take the black or the darker blues and I go across this way, we also begin to remove those blues and we see yellow. And as we move this up, we also adjust this out to more straight blue color based on this image. We can also click on this curve and we can make it into a mathematical type curve where we can see bends and have different points. So for instance, I can move the blue down here and get rid of some of those darker blues. So you can see that I've taken out some of the blues of the road, but I've left some blues in the lighter areas. And then we could click another point and bring in some of those lighter colors. So here what has happened is we've removed some of those dark blues and brought them down, but we've added in those lighter blues back up here at the top. And you can do that with this graph, whether it be for each individual channel or for the whole RGB channel. So when we adjust here, it's going to adjust everything evenly. As I move up, we get into whites, and as I move across, it gets darker. And the same thing the other way with the top right point. As we move across, we get into the lighter whites, and as we move down, it's going to get darker for us. And also we can brighten up all the channels evenly, or we can make them darker evenly. And we do that with this curve graph here. Now this takes some playing and getting used to, and I've seen some people do some really amazing stuff on YouTube with these curve graphs. I myself am no expert on using the curve graphs. I do understand how it works, but it might be something that you want to experiment with and play around with, and it can definitely help you out in your workflow once you understand it.